to my Evil Dead franchise review series, and today I am going to be continuing on with the remake of the original The Evil Dead, just titled Evil Dead, from 2013.
There was something in the woods.
Everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. I don't know if you'd noticed this, but everything's been getting worse. Every second. If we don't do something, we're all gonna be dead!
We're gonna get you.
Does that sound fine?
Rated R.
Evil Dead stars Jane Levy, Shiloh Fernandez, Lou Taylor Pucci, Jessica Lucas, Elizabeth Blackmore, and is directed by Fede Alvarez. The plot of Evil Dead 2013 is that 5 young friends find the mysterious and powerful Book of the Dead. Unable to resist the book's temptation, they end up releasing a bloodthirsty demon on a quest to possess them all. Which one will be left alive to fight for survival and defeat this monstrosity that has been loose upon the world? Before getting into this review, I would like to say is that this is last Evil Dead movie I have to cover before Evil Dead Rise comes out this April.
What will be, will be.
I've been saying a lot how the Evil Dead remake was my very first Evil Dead movie I ever saw. My memories of it was, I remember after it came out on DVD and Blu-ray and that, sometime after its initial release in theaters, rented it at Redbox. Yes, Redbox was still a thing around that point. Myself and one of my brothers who is into horror watched it as well. And I remember enjoying it. Then, and I haven't touched this movie since. I have never watched it since then. I don't know, maybe I watched it with Josh because he's an Evil Dead fan, so maybe I watched it with him since, but the only time I remember watching this until now was back after the film came out on physical media. I wanted to go back to it, revisit it. I don't think I ever reviewed the 2013 remake. On my main channel, the only Evil Dead movie I ever covered was the third one, Army of Darkness, which, by the way, today, as of recording this video, today my review of Army of Darkness has dropped, so if you guys could go and watch that, you know, give it some support, and just see my thoughts on the Army of Darkness. And then once I get this upload, go and check this out. That's just kind of my brief history with this movie and the Evil Dead franchise. Again, this was the very first Evil Dead movie I ever saw, and I'm going to try to do my damnedest to go watch Evil Dead Rise in the theater when it comes out this April. And now, if I do, that would be the first Evil Dead movie I would ever see in the theater. Let's move on to my thoughts on the movie. Okay, so the first positive is the acting. I actually really like all the actors involved in this movie. The only one I'm somewhat familiar with at this point now is Jane Levy, who you may have heard me talk about because I covered another movie she was in, and that was another Fede Alvarez film, Don't Breathe, which I love Don't Breathe. So Fede Alvarez did a great job with that one, and Jane Levy was awesome in that one too. Regards to what I think of her in this movie, I think for the most part, acting-wise, she does an amazing job. Most of the actors here do an amazing job. There's not one actor that I could look at and I'm like, oh man, they're so annoying, or I just hated this actor's performance or whatever. No, none of the actors are terrible or annoying or anything like that. In regards to the acting, amazing performances from all the actors, especially Jane Levy. I think Jane Levy does a great job in this movie. Also too, brilliant direction by Fede Alvarez. I think for the most part he does a pretty good job with the direction. To go along with that, the cinematography of this film is just gorgeous. The cinematography, the production design, in fact, this looks and feels like an Evil Dead movie, especially more so like the first one. It feels much more aligned with the first Evil Dead movie in regards to, for most part. I do have some issues with certain design elements, but we'll get to that in my mixed thoughts portion of this review. I love the fact that it simply relied on practical effects. This is a practical effects movie, and there's a lot of great looking gore in this film. If you're looking for a movie for just pure carnage candy, this is one of the movies to do that with. Also too, I want to talk about the music. Yeah, honestly, I couldn't figure out who composed music for this film. I'm pretty sure it was still Joseph LaDuca who composed the original 3 Evil Dead films, and also composed some of the stuff, like some of the Chucky franchise material. He composed the music for Curse of Chucky, Cult of Chucky, and the Child's Play TV show. just called Chucky. If that's the case, then he did an amazing job. If not, I'll post whoever actually composed the music for this remake, like somewhere around here. But yeah, whoever composed the music for this film did a great job with the music. There's a lot of elements in here that feel like Evil Dead music. It's one that honestly I probably will pick up the soundtrack on vinyl, maybe not vinyl, maybe just pick it up on CD. Also too, I think the pacing of this film is done rather well for the most part. The film doesn't overstay its welcome. Honestly, that's about it with my positives in regards to the stuff that I absolutely love about this film. Now let's move on to the things I'm rather mixed on. One of my kind of nitpicks, this is why it's mixed, because it's the characters. The characters are kind of mixed for me. Now, I like the performances that the actors give for these characters, and I do somewhat care for these characters by the end of the film. The problem is, the beginning of the film was so much like exposition. Essentially, it's like for example, like after the opening, you start off the actual story of the film, and you see our 5 main characters coming into going to the cabin and everything like that, and you see our who you think is going to be the main Ash type character, David, and he's like, all the characters essentially introduce themselves as oh hey, I thought you were. They essentially either announce their personalities or their kind of past histories, like there's my best friend and everything like that. He is there's Eric, my best friend, who is just all kind of pouty right now. There's my girlfriend right there, and there's another friend of mine. It's like, and then when it gets to introducing the actual main character, Mia, played by Jane Leffy, it's like them announcing each other that they're brother and sisters. Like, oh hey David, you're my brother. Oh yeah, you're right, I remember, I am your brother. No one talks like that. No, I seriously go up to my friends and be like, hey Josh, buddy, old pal, remember we've been such great friends all this time and everything like that, and remember this one thing we did. Or it's like, if one of my brothers came in, it's like, oh hey, you remember my brother? Yeah, my brother, yeah, my bro. We're siblings. We're siblings! No one talks like that! And not that too, they were also spouting out exposition about oh, this is why we're here, Which I get, you kind of have to establish why they're at the cabin. And to be honest, I kind of like the idea for why they are going to the cabin in this one. In the original Evil Dead, it was just essentially a vacation spot, They were going on a vacation, they go to the cabin and everything. That's where they find the Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon. But in this one, they are there for a specific reason, and that's because Mia is a recovering drug addict. She was under the influence of different types of drugs and that, and she's there to essentially try to recover from, she's just there to play cold turkey and everything like that, so that she could get over her addiction. And her friends are there to make sure that she's okay and that to support her. So once they unleash the evil from the Book of the Dead and things get crazy, they honestly don't believe her because they think she has been doing drugs again and is going on a relapse. So therefore it kind of brings out the tension again. So again, I'm rather mixed on with the characters, I think, and some of the ideas in this film. Honestly, I think that's the only thing I'm rather mixed on, but there are some things I kind of don't really care for, so let's move on to that. And honestly, for me, some of the things I don't really care for is some of the stuff okay, so there's some stuff that just absolutely does not make sense within the context of the movie. It does to a degree. For example, the opening of the film involves completely unrelated characters and stories. A story to where you have this father who is trying to, essentially, his daughter's possessed by one of these demons, one of the Deadites and everything like that. And essentially he has to do this whole ritual and that, and eventually that kills her and therefore also kills the Deadite. So, and then it just goes to title card, and and then that never comes back into the story again. The only part that it comes back to is that cabin that the characters in the opening were in is the exact same cabin that was once owned by me and David's mother. So they find all that kind of weird like stuff like dead animals and stuff like that in their basement or whatever, and that's where they find the Book of the Dead that was just left there. And then there's other stuff too, like again, while I do love the original Evil Dead franchise, like the original Evil Dead trilogy and stuff like that, I would say there's way too many callbacks to that. Like, for example, when they drive up to the cabin, you hear the phrase "join us" just kind of randomly there. Or like when Eric is reading from the Book of the Dead like a freaking moron, when he gets to the part where he says it's like bodily dismemberment, and then at the same time too plays the bit from Professor Nobi's tape where it's like when Mia goes full Deadeye possessed mode and reveals that self of her to her friends and that, and she's like screaming and everything, the doors are bursting open and that, you hear the line from one of the Deadites, it's like, "One by one we will take you." I will say the only part I didn't mind was at the end, during the end credits, where you hear Professor Nobi's tape.
"I have seen the dark shadows moving in the woods, and I have no doubt that whatever I have resurrected through this book is sure to come calling for me."
There's also another thing that kind of bugs me, and that is the cameo, the after credit scene where at the end it shows that, oh, there's Bruce Campbell as Ash, you know? And the reason for that I have a problem with this is that it's just lazily done. It just kind of looks like they couldn't really have Bruce Campbell do much as Ash as a after credit scene, so they just like said, you know what, record in your apartment, do very low lighting, simply have a side profile.
Groovy.
And then we'll just add music, sound effects, stuff like that, and then be like, oh hey guys, Bruce Campbell's back as Ash. He's going to do I don't know what, you know, team up with Mia, I guess. So is that essentially saying that the Evil Dead remake takes place in the same universe as the original Evil Dead trilogy? Is this even a remake? Is it a sequel? What is it? Now, I have heard fan theories saying that maybe this is an alternate universe, and that eventually both universes will collide with each other, so therefore you could do like you have stuff like in the original Evil Dead where Ash in Evil Dead 2 gets transported back in time to medieval times and everything like that. So maybe this is kind of a similar thing where it's like a, you know, alternate dimension and that, alternate reality, multiverse theory kind of stuff. The events play out very similar in this universe, except, you know, you have Mia as the kind of Ash character, you know, so maybe it would show that eventually, you know, like both worlds would merge and everything like that through this multiverse hopping kind of adventure, and there would have been a team up with Jane Levy as Mia and Bruce Campbell as Ash from. So it would have been a merging of both the original Evil Dead trilogy and this remake series, which never happened. So that's my only theory on that, and that's what I heard. It's been a theory going around for why that is the case. But I still think the cameo was pretty lazy. They should have just waited till they got Bruce Campbell to actually come on set and everything, and they could have done a very awesome cameo to be like, you know, like maybe they could have had it to where you see after the climax with Mia and the Abomination, she's walking around, like kind of walking with her hand now chopped, like cut off, just like Ash, and that, and just be like walking on the highway or something like that, on the road and everything like that, and then like some kind of portal opens, and then the turns behind her, like turn to look behind her, and then you see Bruce Campbell as Ash, and it'd be like, you know, be something like that. That would have been amazing. That would have been an amazing cameo. Well, a lot more awesome than just groovy. Again, I love Bruce Campbell, but I mean, seriously. So that's it. I'm going to give Evil Dead a 3 out of 5 stars. Honestly, it's okay. It's not my favorite of the Evil Dead films. If I'm going to watch an Evil Dead movie, I probably would go back and rewatch the original Evil Dead trilogy. You know, like I'd probably pick up Army of Darkness before I probably pick this one up and pop it in. Now again, not to say there's not any good things about this movie, and I did list them. I just think it could have been executed a bit better, especially in some areas. And if those things were fixed, this would have been an amazing remake. And honestly, I still think it's up there with one of the better remakes out there, especially around the time this was coming out, because it was coming out during the remake craze of horror. So yeah, So that's it for this review. Thank you guys for watching, and oh man, my freaking hand. What the? Oh. Ah. Ah. I will show you. I will show you. Okay. You bastards! Give me back my hand! Who's laughing now? Who's laughing now? This has been another movie review from Blood Moon Production. Well, from Blood Moon Talks Horror. Thank you all for watching, and I am so sick and tired. I'm so sick and tired of this.